last 3 terms. So I am a seasoned parliamentarian. I'm here to inspire you that even in your home, you are parliamentarians. The first parliament of any human entity is the family, is the home. So I want to welcome you now to the National Parliament. I am aware that you are going to undertake a parliamentary session. Is it it? So I want to congratulate you for having taken off time to come and be part and parcel of the process. Many Ugandans think that parliamentarians are different breeds of people. I always say that parliamentarians are necessary evils of society because we make laws which govern society. You may not like them, but please, I want you to appreciate the few hours you are going to spend here to debate diligently, to fraternize with your voters. I don't know whether your voters will be in the gallery, those who are not registered. Make sure that you keep touch with your voters and make sure that you make laws that will bring prosperity to the people and enhance society. So I wish you all the best in today's engagement. And when you are voting for the Speaker, vote for one who will be a very good presiding officer. Because the Speaker is supposed to be a presiding officer who will give you chance to debate, who will give you chance to visit your constituency, who will give you chance to make sure that you are enhanced in your ability, build your capacity. Like me, I was built by the various speakers in the National Parliament, and now I've graduated to be a regional parliament, and I continue to touch base with every Ugandan, because East Africa means all the parts of Uganda represented. So I thank you. I don't want to talk too much. As parliamentarians, we talk too much. That's one of the biggest weaknesses as parliamentarians. But let us remain humble, simple, but network with our voters. Thank you so much. I wish you all the best.
Member of Parliament, Iyala, Kenya, from Kenya. I'm representing Kenya among the other elected members of Iyala from the 6 state parties, which Uganda is part of them. And we are blessed this week. We are here when Uganda Parliament, which is hosting us, is having public participation. We equally have, I was in the Kenya Parliament representing a county called Wajir in the north of Kenya in the last Parliament. And we used to have a week of a meeting with electorates. And I can see Uganda people have a lot of interest in engaging the members of Parliament, engaging the Secretariat of the Parliament, in understanding the role of their representatives in the Parliament. And I'm happy. I think there are more attendance in this session. Sometimes people get tired in coming to this, but I can see the interest, the commitment, and the passion of listening and understanding how Parliament works.
People who are able to make decisions at a young age, and I'm going to represent youth, not from only in Kenya. I'm doing it for every state in East Africa. Even as you do your participation today, I would ask probably the rapporteur here that at the end of the day, I would not mind to see or know the challenges that youth in Uganda go through, so that it will help me to foster motions.
Vijana safi! My name is Fancy Hadinkui. I'm a member of East African Legislative Assembly from Tanzania, and I want to encourage youth to make your dream come true. I had this dream for 10 years, and being a young, beautiful lady with brain, it wasn't easy. but I made it, and I'm here now. So, make your dream come true. Persistence, and know what you want in life is everything. So, make your dream come true. Thank you.
So that today, the first business we are going to deal with is to do with allocation of resources. Allocation of budgetary resources. We are in the budgeting season. This is the time when parliamentarians sit and allocate resources. Today, there is a motion that has been served to you members. You are going to be discussing whether government should allocate more resources to education and health sector in the financial year 2018-2019. And your resolutions shall be submitted to government for consideration. Each order paper has got important items that you must deal with every day. And plenary of Parliament starts at 2 p.m.
I, Member Samuel, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Uganda, and that I will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, so help me God. I, Member Samuel, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will give faithful service to this Parliament and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by the law established, so help me God.
I, Uganda, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Uganda, and that I will preserve and protect and defend the Constitution. So, I, Uganda, swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will give faithful service to this Parliament and support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established. So help me God.
Now you are fully recognized members of Parliament by the Constitution and the law.
5 more minutes. We are not thrown out by security.
We nominate you. Mister, you should not make a line if you want to just I will tell you. I'm order. Speaker,
The caucusing is over. Gentlemen and ladies, let's move back. Let's move back, please. Let's move back. Let's move back. We need this space. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Can we move to the original line? What? Workers, the caucusing has closed. We are going to the election of the Speaker of the Public Parliament. And when the justice is coming in, we shall all stand up. You don't have to clap. You give them the respect they deserve. And then we're going to handle the next phase of the election of those positions I told you about. Okay? Thank you.
We beseech you to look upon with your abundant favor these your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important trusts in this land. Let your blessing descend upon them here assembled, and grant that they may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under their deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed to the church. And Article 95(1) of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda states thus: where a new parliament is elected, the president shall, by proclamation, appoint the press and the date not beyond 7 days after the expiry of the term of parliament or of the extended period, as the case may be, for the first sitting of the new parliament. We have now received a proclamation by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, and I beg to read it verbatim. Proclamation by His Excellency the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda. Whereas, under Article 95 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, where a new parliament is elected, the President is required by proclamation to appoint a press and a date not beyond 7 days after the expiry of the term of parliament for the first sitting of the new parliament. And whereas the election of members of parliament, the second public parliament were concluded on 25th of January 2018, now therefore, in exercise of the powers conferred upon the President by Clause 1 of Article 95 of the Constitution, it is hereby proclaimed that the first sitting of the second public parliament of the Republic of Uganda shall be held at the parliamentary buildings on the 25th of day of January 2018, given under my hand and public seal, is 25th of January 2018, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda.
I take this opportunity to congratulate you all for having been elected as members of this August House. I know the journey has not been easy for you, for you have experienced what it means to go through a rigorous election. Now, since you have been successfully elected as legislators, I implore you to carry your duties in accordance with the law. Your role as legislators of this country is crucial, as the laws that you will deliberate upon and pass will affect the entire country. Article 82, Clause 1 of the Constitution provides for a Speaker and Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Clause 5 of the same article provides as follows: the Chief Justice or a judge designated by the Chief Justice shall preside at the election of a Speaker, and the Speaker shall provide at an election of the Deputy Speaker. My role, therefore, today is simple. I'm here to preside over the election of the Speaker as required under Article 182 of the Constitution and Rule 5 of our Rules of Procedure. Honorable members, let me also take this opportunity to appeal to you seriously to consider electing a person of integrity, a person you will all respect, whose ruling will be taken as a decision of the whole House, and whose guidance this House shall make laws for the peace, order, development, and good governance of this country. I've been informed that you have been availed with the rules of procedure that we are going to follow during this election. However, let me highlight one key rule that we are going to use for the public parliament. Voting for the office of the Speaker shall be by show of hands. Those are the rules that we have all agreed upon as the second public parliament. May I now invite nominations for the office of the Speaker of the second public parliament from you, honorable members.
I, Secretary Ali, member of the second People's Parliament, nominate Ms. Wanjala Elizabeth, a candidate for the second People's Parliament. Thank you.
I nominate Muramira Maiko for speakership.
I take this rare opportunity to nominate Ouma Wanjala.
Madam Chief Justice, I would like to say one or two words about Madam Elizabeth Wanjala, who is vying for the position of Speaker for the second People's Parliament.
The honorable Wanjala.
As a mother, as a sister, as a lady of integrity, Madam Wanjala Elizabeth can and has the ability to guide, control, protect the image, name and reputation of our parliament. She can deliberate, articulate and present all the issues without any bias. And she's considerate enough and she's not even enough to be able to control our people's parliament. That's what I have.
I nominated Muramira Maiko for the speakership of the ward, East August House, for the second ward, parliamentary ward. That's one I saw. Let me give the preamble. Muramira is a businessman, and as you know, we have come here for the budget vote debate. You know very well the GDP of the Republic of Uganda is represented by what? Businessmen. So Muramira is the best person for what? And this man is fair. He is the man from the Green Party. I now call upon you to support Muramira for the speakership, and you will do as well. Thank you very much for the work.
I feel extremely humbled and profoundly overjoyed to present to you one of the time-tested leaders this generation has had. By the names of I'm going to Wabine Joseph by my names. Wanjala Kevin is from the Farmers Party, and you know I'm not mindful that agriculture is the backbone of our economy. Therefore, Wanjala Kevin is a lawyer by profession. Therefore, you can be rest assured the rule of law and separation of powers will be upheld. He has said to somebody positions on which we are going today. We will spend here the whole day. Let them sit to you, please. We are going to unite the farmers, the Green Party, and we are prepared to take it. Whereas the rules of procedure of Parliament requires that voting of the Speaker shall be by secret ballot, but you have studied the situation and found that given the circumstances, the best method of determining who the Speaker of the public parliament going to be is by show of hands. Therefore, we shall ask members, those who are in favor of Ms. Wanjala Elizabeth becoming the Speaker of the Public Parliament are going to raise their hand, one hand. Madam Chief Justice, I have just been told that some of the voters here are not genuine voters because they carry cards that are for strangers. Please stand up and have your hand up so that you are counted.
Cannot vote twice, so you cannot receive the stand twice. So if you know you stood earlier, please don't stand again. So we had 3 nominees, and we have a winner. But those who have not won, we want to thank them for the expression, and I know that they will all be available, and they will continue to serve this parliament and the nation at large. So these are the results of the votes. Ms. Honorable Wanjala Elizabeth, 172 votes. Honorable Muramira Michael, 25 votes. Honorable Ouma Wanjala Kevin, 188 votes.
Item number 6 on the order paper, administration of oath to the Speaker-elect.
Honorable members, I now declare Honorable Ouma Wanjala Kevin has been elected Speaker of the Second Public Parliament. We now
I, David Wanjala Ouma, swear in the name of the Almighty God, solemnly affirm that I will at all times well and truly serve the Republic of Uganda in the office of the Speaker, and that I will support and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda as by law established. So help me God. I am greatly overwhelmed by your support. I am short of words, but I would like to say thank you to all of you, and that we are now one family as members of Parliament. Irrespective of your party, we are now under the right chairmanship, the right steership, and under the right hands of the new Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much for God and my country. Honorable members, the House is adjourned to 2 p.m. when we shall convene in plenary. So, House adjourned.
Making it impossible for, yes. But you are welcome.
But
you are
Parliament. We will recover.
You can show that I'm reproaching. When he enjoys that seat of being on the opposition, you will see what will happen.
That's a good one.
So,
I'm going to move the motion.
You are most welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Karibu, karibu.
Asante.
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Come.
Organize the very peaceful transition.
I agree with you.
My dear. Okay. Sawa.
Yes, no.
You know, in this room, I'm the only one with a job. You know?
How are you? What's the election?
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Yes, yes. Yes. I see you the history. You just have to hand over. Oh, the election.
Election was fair and fair.
It's from the minority party.
Oh, really?
The minority party, you managed to get to
Hey.
The biggest party is 208.
Okay.
This party is only 76 members.
Okay.
Second Annual People's Parliament. In that regard, I take this opportunity to welcome our special guests to this first plenary session of the second People's Parliament. We welcome my colleague, counterpart, the Right Honorable Speaker, Rebecca Kadaga, and to my left, the Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, Jacob Olanya, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Dr. Ruhankana Bugunda, and the Honorable Leader of Opposition, Winnie Chiza. Honorable members, order. You have the opportunity to listen from them, and I hereby invite the Honorable Leader of Opposition, Honorable Winnie Chiza, to come and say a word to you.
Right Honorable Deputy Speaker, the Leader of the Government Business, the Leader of the Opposition, the People's Parliament, Honorable Members of Parliament, the guests of Parliament, fellow Ugandans, it's a great honor for me to speak before this august House on this second parliamentary week in this second Parliamentary People's Assembly. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to your Parliament. Under the theme, Parliament, the voice of the people, but specifically discussing the impact of the allocations of budget to the living conditions and welfare of our people. As members of Parliament and as Ugandans, the budgeting process goes through a cycle. And as you may be aware, honorable members, this cycle is supposed to begin from us in our communities there and come up here. But for purposes of Parliament, this House where you are as members of Parliament, there is a process that we follow. And the process as provided for by the Public Finance Management Act, it begins with the laying of the budget framework paper. When the budget framework paper is laid, of course indicating the indicative figures under which we are supposed to plan for the financial year, and the law still compels the Minister of Finance to lay, together with the budget framework paper, a certificate of the equity responsiveness. So this is sent to the Committee of Budget. But for us, as the leadership of the opposition, we are also mandated by law under Rule 52 to ensure that we also scrutinize the compliance levels of the budget process. And therefore, we also begin with scrutinizing the budget framework paper. And we submit our alternative budget proposals to the budget framework paper to the Committee of Budget. And all the sectors and the committees of Parliament report to this committee to ensure that all the voices of all Ugandans in regard to the different committees of government and specifically Parliament are represented. We are expecting to have the Committee on Budget to report back to the House, and I think this is when, as soon as Parliament reopens or resumes, we shall be discussing this for purposes of enabling the budget process to continue. Why is this involvement necessary? It's very necessary so that we can be able to participate in the budget process and be able to mention all these critical issues that are so close to our hearts. And as people's representatives, it therefore becomes very, very important that we even track whether these allocations are meeting the expectations of the population. And it's the reason why I'm so excited that the People's Budget is coming, the People's Parliament is coming to discuss the impact of the allocations to the livelihoods and living conditions of the people of Uganda. During the process of implementation, you will realize that on many occasions, government, through the different ministries and departments, will give assurances and maybe commitments. These commitments are supposed to form part of the budget. However, sometimes some of these commitments are never met. Those are what they call the presidential pledges or government pledges. We in the opposition, for example, are mandated to ensure that government fulfills its commitment. So right, Honorable Leader of the Opposition, I once again would like to welcome you to the People's Parliament and pray that you keep government in check to ensure that the allocations that will be given to the different ministerial departments, government agencies, and local governments do exactly reach the population in terms of service delivery to change the lives of the people of Uganda. It is incumbent upon us, people's representatives, to ensure that service delivery is felt in our population. The housing population census indicated that poverty levels are increasing. A report that was carried out in 2012 to 2016 indicated that our poverty levels have increased from 20% to 27%, and is getting worse in the eastern part of Uganda. So as we plan, we better see how we put proper measures to ensure that Ugandans move again down in terms of accessibility to incomes, to avoid a scenario that will put all Ugandans in worse situations. I want to thank you for coming to your parliament. I want to pray that the deliberations from this house will be incorporated in the main debate of the country so as to help us plan better for the nation. I can pledge that we shall work together, we shall move this journey together to ensure that proper service is given to our people. Thank you so much. May God bless you. For God and
I take this opportunity to invite the Right Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, Dr. Ruhakana Kunda, to come and say a word to us.
The leader of the opposition, distinguished officials of parliament, members of the parliament gathered here, let me take this opportunity to welcome you all to this important gathering when the voices of the people will be heard by government and by the legislature of Uganda. The budgeting process starts in government, and it is guided by national priorities and also guided by the approved critical documents to guide the development of Uganda. In this particular case, the winning party manifesto provides critical guidelines. Secondly, the National Development Plan. And thirdly, Vision 2040 also clearly provides the guidelines of where you should budget to. But in addition, because Uganda is not in isolation, it's part of the international community. So we are also guided by the SDGs. So that our development process is holistic and takes into account local, national, and international situations in order to ensure that there is steady progress in the process of development. Let me now add a few remarks to the effect that I am pleased to be part indeed of these proceedings when Parliament, composed of the wananchi from different walks of life, are in public parliament for at least one day. You are walking in the shoes of the legislators of this country. This is what legislators of this country go through. Therefore, as leaders, we will keenly follow this discussion and also note the resolutions coming directly from you, the people of Uganda. And I agree with the leader of the opposition who said, we are keenly waiting to get your decisions and resolutions and recommendations. Not all of you may have had the opportunity to speak. Not all of you will speak. But nonetheless, your interest in the parliamentary process and your enthusiastic participation is key for the prosperity of this country. If you don't say it here, you will say it outside, in the countryside, or to the newspapers. I commend the leadership of the Parliament of Uganda for coming up with this innovative and exciting idea of bridging the gap between Parliament and the people of Uganda. As executive, we shall further study this model, which allows ordinary people to experience how government is indeed run. I urge all of you, especially the lead of government business, to take this role seriously and lead both government business and lead of the opposition to take these responsibilities seriously. And for the leader of the opposition, I invite her. No, not leader of the opposition. For the leader of government business, my colleague, I invite her, after you have concluded your sessions, to come and give me a deeper briefing of the basis of the decisions that you have taken and the recommendations that you have made, and we discuss on how best government can take on these ideas, both within the government and also proceed to present the same to the Parliament of Uganda. I wish you all every success and good deliberations, and the people of Uganda are watching and are waiting for your recommendations and your resolutions. I thank you.
Parliament is the other side of the executive. The two institutions, or the two arms of government, are the ones involved in what you call the public policy cycle. The judiciary is not. It's only Parliament and the executive. We are talking about the public policy cycle. And the public policy cycle has 4 points. There's policy formulation, policy approval, policy implementation, and policy oversight or review. The executive and Parliament share these responsibilities. The arm of government responsible for formulating policies, asking the question, what is the problem? What is the solution? Is the executive arm of government. Once they have asked that question, they will propose a policy recommending solutions on how to deal with the problem. But that policy will not become policy unless it comes to Parliament and is approved. So from policy formulation, you come to policy approval. Now when it comes to Parliament, Parliament will not ask the same question like the executive asked. The executive asked, what is the problem? What is the solution? Parliament will ask, Was the problem properly identified? Is the solution recommended the right solution? How will it impact on people? Because they are people's representatives. When they're satisfied and they've made some recommendation and they have agreed that that is the way to go, Parliament will approve that policy. It can approve it by approving a law, or they can approve it by, in this process, approving the budget. Once that's approved, it goes to third stage, and that is back to the executive to implement what has now been agreed. What they propose, Parliament has approved, now it goes back to the executive to implement. After implementation, comes back to Parliament for oversight. To ask the question now, did you do it in accordance with what we agreed? We gave you money to buy water. Did you buy beer instead? If you did that, then the issue of misappropriating money would arise. We appropriated money to buy water, you have used the money to buy beer. So you have misappropriated what Parliament had properly appropriated. And that's the process we are in now. Government has proposed in its framework paper what the framework of the budget will be for next financial year. And that is what Parliament is interrogating now, to see what it is like and make recommendations how it can be improved. And then the cycle will continue. So you are now part of it. Today you are supposed to make some approvals. When you approve, it will go back to the executive for implementation. We'll be with you shortly after this particular session. May God bless you. Thank you.
I hereby take this opportunity to invite the Right Honorable Speaker of the Republic of Uganda.
Right Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Right Honorable the Prime Minister, Republic of Uganda, Honorable the Leader of Opposition of the National Assembly, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Speaker of the Public Parliament, the Honorable Leader of Government Business of the Public Parliament, the Leader of Opposition of the Public Parliament, and all of you, the Honorable Members of Parliament, congratulations on making it to the plenary today. On behalf of the Parliament, I want to welcome you very, very warmly to the second annual public debate, which is part of our Parliament Week activities. It's a very, very important channel of communication between you and us. In 2022, the Parliament of Uganda hosted all the parliamentarians of the world here in Kampala in April 2012. And one of the things we discussed and resolved on is to get closer to the population. All of us felt that the distance between the elected and the electors is big. So we began by carrying out outreach programs in different parts of the country, with the leaders, some of the opinion leaders, but we felt this was not enough. So we agreed to have the Parliament Week, where you, the people, come the whole of the week, study what we are doing, talk to your members, experience Parliament. That's why you are here, and I'm really happy that you have come. Now, the role of Parliament, or you members of Parliament, we have three major responsibilities. One is legislation, that is making the laws. But today there are no bills, so you're not going to handle any bills today. The other one is representation. I'm sure that today you are going to speak the issues of your constituency. When you debate today, you are going to be doing the representational role of what they have said and what they want in the budget. The third one is oversight. The Deputy Speaker has already explained. When you must follow up, we passed the budget. It was for the road to Kitgum. How much money was given? Did it reach the local authority? Was the road done? Has that one been paid? Have the project affected persons been paid? or we are just building the road and abandoning the population. So that is the role of oversight. So we expect that with time you learn these responsibilities. Now, today's meeting is very important. Last year, the public parliament discussed climate change, and they made a resolution that the government should fast-track environmental protection, reforestation, and all the other activities necessary to improve the environment and revive our environmental status. You may be surprised to hear that the forest cover now is about 5% of what it was 40 years ago. So we need to do much to make sure that we come back to the level where we were. But coming to the budget debate, I'm really glad that you're here to discuss the budget. The members of parliament are discussing the budget framework paper. Normally, they would invite the ministries, the civil servants, and all the consultants. But today, your views here are part of the public hearing. You are now part of the budget process of the National Assembly of Uganda. Your views are going to be taken up through the budget committee into the plenary of this house. So I'm really glad that you are here at the right time and you'll be able to talk about the budget. So I do not want to take up too much of your time because you need to be able to exchange your views. But what we are saying is that today we are fulfilling the definition of democracy, that's government of the people, you, by the people, and for the people. All of them are here in this house. Mr. Speaker, I wish you well and I congratulate you. That mace is a symbol of your authority. No one should touch it. If you need help, if there is noise in the house, the clerks will ring a bell to ensure order. But you have the full authority. I've surrendered everything.
Right Honorable Speaker, I gladly received the authority. We are very grateful for that great speech. We've had a great lesson to learn, and we're also thankful to you, the special guest, having hosted us and tried to give us guidance through this. So, upon suspension of the House, the Right Honorable Prime Minister of the Public Parliament is invited to lead the special guests out of the chambers, and we shall reconvene 5 minutes after the House is suspended for 5 minutes.
You're very welcome. We have had the preliminary proceedings. Now we go to actual business. The order paper has been circulated. Honorable members, as a way of preliminary, I need to guide you on how we deal with matters in this house. What you have in front here, those two are called the dispatch boxes. The dispatch box on my right is where the leader of government speaks from. And the dispatch box on my left is where the leader of the opposition speaks from. In the past, that used to be the box where the budget documents and all documents that are going to be brought to Parliament were kept. So when you're coming to present them, you open the box and then you make your presentation. That's why they're called the dispatch box. On my right, in front, we have the front bench of government. Unfortunately, there's no front bench on the left because that constitutes the shadow cabinet, which is constituted by the opposition. Behind me, on my left and right, you have those benches behind me. They are called the technical benches. That is where assistants to ministers, people from the ministries, when the matters are being handled, or the people from First Parliamentary Council, when the bill is being debated, they sit there and they listen in and they take notes on what needs to be done. Now, that's about the structure of this house. Outside those 4 doors is what we call the lobby of this parliament. So when they say they are going to take a vote by division lobby, all members go into those lobbies and they start voting one by one and they come back inside. That is the lobby. So, rules of procedure of parliament. There are 5 principles that govern the rules of procedure of parliament. So the whole big book here, which is the rules of procedure, has 5 principles only. You understand those principles, you will apply these rules without looking at them. First principle, all members of parliament are equal. It does not matter whether you come from the opposition minority or from the government majority. All members of parliament have equal rights. Principle number 2, all propositions brought before parliament, whether they be motions or whatever they are, must receive a full debate and a decision. So you don't come here to spend time. You come here to receive propositions, debate them, and take a decision. Third principle, the majority decision will take the order. The majority will prevail, but the rights of the minority must be observed. In other words, you cannot say, we have the big number, so we can do whatever we want. You must observe the rights of the minority. Fourth principle, each member of this house owes it to the assembly its dignity. The dignity of the assembly is the dignity of its members. So if anything should happen to a member of parliament, that member will owe an explanation to the house. He said, well, you saw these things in the newspapers, they were not correct, because when something has happened to a member of parliament, it has happened to parliament. So you owe it to the house to come and explain why certain things could have happened the way they happened. And the fifth principle is that you are a representative parliament. You act on other people's behalf. And the reason is simple. If Uganda had only 400 people, they would not need a parliament. If Uganda had only a population of 400 people, they would not need a parliament. All of them would come here and sit and debate. Not so. But because Ugandans are more than 400, they cannot sit here together. There are over 40 million people. They need to select people who will speak for them and take decisions on their behalf. And that is why you have representation as a core function of any parliament. Briefly, that is what we need to do. Then, in debate, there are rules of debate. There are rules that govern members who are holding the floor, and there are rules that govern members who are listening in the debate. You are supposed to listen to a member holding the floor in absolute silence. You are supposed to extend decorum and respect and courtesy to any member of this house, especially the one holding the floor. But there are also rules of interrupting debate. If a member holding the floor is speaking and there is some breach in the procedure, you can interrupt that debate for a point of order, point of procedure, or point of information. Those are the main ones. These days, there are major creations which are not supported by the rules of this house. You raise a point of order when something is going wrong with the order of the house. And the member who is holding the floor will sit and you raise the board. Is it in order for the member to do 1, 2, 3, 4? Then the speaker will rule and the member will be guided on what to do next. If it requires an apology, the member will give an apology and proceed with the debate. Points of procedure: if there is a violation of procedure, you can raise a point of procedure. That is also for the guidance of the Speaker. The Speaker will guide on what should happen once you raise a point of procedure. Then the third one is point of information. When a member is holding the floor and another member raises on a point of information, it is up to the member holding the floor to accept that information or not. You cannot force it on the member holding the floor. And if the member refuses to yield the floor for you, don't change your order and say, point of order, because you have lost the information, now you want to raise a point of order. It happens sometimes, but it's not good practice. So those are how you begin debate, and now you can interrupt debate with dignity and respect, holding the decorum of the House and proceeding properly. So today's order paper has a few items, and you should be exposed to all of them. And let us proceed. Item number 1. Next item. But usually also, this is just for information, after the communication, like I finished my communication now, if you have a very, very urgent matter, this would be the time to raise it. When the Speaker finishes communication, you can raise an urgent matter of public importance. But to do that, you needed to have first talked to the Speaker and brief the Speaker what this matter is. Why is it urgent? Why must you suspend other procedures in the rules, suspend the requirement for notice, and raise the matter now without notice? The qualification that it must be urgent, very, very urgent. There's a disease outbreak, there are floods, there's an accident, and things like that, current urgent things, then the Speaker would allow you to raise that urgent matter before any business can be conducted, and that matter will be handled. Thank you.
Motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government to increase funding to the health and education sectors.
The honourable member, mover of the motion.
Right, Honourable Speaker, I'm moving a motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government to increase funding to the health, education and agriculture sectors, moved under Rule 55 of the procedure of Parliament of Uganda.
Proceed. Proceed. Proceed.
Whereas Objective 18, 20, and 22 of the National Objectives and Directive Principles of State Policy require that the state takes appropriate measures to afford every citizen equal opportunity to attain the highest education standard possible, access basic medical services, as well as proper nutrition through the growth and storage of adequate food respectively. And whereas Parliament is given the mandate under the Constitution to appropriate funding for the different sectors of the country, aware that Uganda ratified a number of international and regional treaties providing for the right to health and education, including the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, the Convention on the Rights of the Child, and the Convention Against Discrimination of Education, the Abuja Declaration 2001, and the African Union Maputo Declaration on Agriculture and Food Security in Africa 2003, among others. Further aware that under these international and regional treaties, Uganda is required to ensure that the health and education budgets and each increased to at least 15% of the state annual budget, while the agriculture sector should be allocated at least 10% of the state annual budget. Concerned that the health sector is currently allocated 8.3%, the education sector is allocated 11.4%, while the agriculture sector is allocated 3.8% of the state annual budget in the financial year 2017-2018. Further concerned that according to the national budget framework paper for the financial year 2018-2019, the health sector shall be allocated 7.4%, and the education sector shall be allocated 11.0%, while the agriculture sector shall receive 3.8% of the state annual budget for financial year 2018-2019. Alarmed that the current and proposed allocation to the sectors of health, education, and agriculture do not meet the required thresholds set by the international and regional treaties to which Uganda has been a signatory for the last 17 years. Realizing that due to the failure by government to prioritize the health, education, and agriculture sectors, which sectors constitute the most vital components of development in all areas of economy, Uganda is likely not to achieve the middle income status by 2020 as projected. Now, therefore, be it resolved by this Parliament that government increases funding to the health and education sectors from 8.3% and 11.0% respectively to at least 15% each of the national budget as agreed by African leaders at the Abuja African Union Summit and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. Government increases funding to the agriculture sector from 3.8% to at least 10% of the national budget as endorsed by all African heads of state at the Second Ordinary Assembly of the African Union in July 2003 in Maputo and under the African Union Maputo Declaration on Agriculture and Food Security. Here is a justification as to why.
Honourable Member, you have not yet moved the motion. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move the motion.
Is the motion seconded? Please state your name for the record.
From Kulu Municipality, I second the motion.
Seconded by Okalo Moses from Kulu Municipality. Yes, Honourable.
Panga Godfrey from Kawempe North constituency.
Second of the motion, yes.
Second the motion.
Nansamba Ruth, Tadondo East constituency, I second the motion.
The motion is properly seconded. Honourable Member, would you like to justify your motion? Briefly, so that you give time to other members.
Government is spending more than 30% of the budget on infrastructure investments with approximately 4.8 trillion on works and transport, up from 3.8 trillion in the financial year 2016-2017, while expenditure on energy and mineral development increased from 2.3 trillion approximately to 2.9 trillion. For financial year, works and transport sector has been allocated to 21.4% and energy and mineral development only 11%. When it comes to education.
Point of order.
Honourable Speaker, I would like to inquire whether it's in order for the move of the motion to continue quoting us figures of very other sectors which are not education and health. Is it in order?
Out of the national budget of Uganda shillings 20.430.61 billion, hence translating into 11.98% shared, and this corresponds to a 0.9 increase in the sector budget share from fiscal year 2015-2016 of 11.08, where the sector had a budget of 2,029.07 billion out of the total national budget of Uganda shillings 18,311.37 billion. I beg to move. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that motion. Can I have the seconder of the motion speaking to the motion for exactly 3 minutes? Seconder of the motion, 3 minutes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm called Riga Twinson. The right to education won't be exercised by everyone if we don't give funding to the education sector. Here I mean we should give them money, we should increase the salaries of teachers to make sure they enact this constitutional right of education to each and every person in this country. On the health sector, the Right Honorable Speaker, recently everyone, I hope every member of parliament is aware of the alarm that was caused by the doctors and nurses. So to save this situation further, we should add more funds to this sector to ensure they deliver services to the people. If we sit here and remain silent, yet we have that power conferred on us by the Constitution under Article 79, we are not doing our job. Our job here is to make sure our people get equal services and get the requisite services, or we represent them in a better manner. Here I mean, so my point is all members of parliament should actually stand up and support this motion. We should even detest the resolution that was passed at Abuja of 15%, and we make it exceptional and outstanding, and we put it to 16% to have better services for our country. Right, Honorable Speaker, those are my words, all the way from Chinchizi West constituency, Kanungo district.
Resolution of Parliament urging government to increase funding to the health sector, education and agriculture, and particularly that government increases funding to the health and education sectors from 8.3% and 11% respectively to at least 15% each of the national budget, as agreed by African leaders at the Abuja African Union Summit and Addis Ababa Action Agenda. 2, that government increases funding to the agricultural sector from 3.8% to at least 10% of the national budget, as endorsed by all African heads of state at the Second Ordinary Assembly of the African Union in July 2003 in Maputo, under the African Union Maputo Declaration on Agriculture and Food Security in Africa 2003. Honorable members, that is the motion for your debate, and debate starts now, each member taking 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mwangzibone, representing Nakawa Division. Yes, the motion has been passed and justified, but I would like to present a differing idea. I would like to ask, where is the justification of the money allocated to them as per now? Realize they receive, for example, the education sector receives 2.4 trillion, including external financing. But all they do is pathetic. The schools are pathetic, everything is pathetic. So they are moving to increase, and yet they cannot justify on what they already have as per now.
On the issue of education, it is common knowledge that our education system is producing people who are not only unemployed, but unemployable. Is it therefore reasonable for us to continue pumping in money in a sector that produces graduates who are not only unemployed, but unemployable? Why not change the curriculum so that when we say we are putting money in something that is reasonable, I propose that we put more emphasis on vocational education
Time up. Honorable members, resume your seats. Resume your seats. Resume your seats.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move. That is my executive, first Deputy Prime Minister, second Deputy Prime Minister, and the government chief. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Prime Minister. You only raise up your hand.
We have seen epidemic diseases coming in, like the Kong fever, which have been unknown in Uganda. So the decrease in this percentage on the national budget will not cater for such diseases if they have attacked Uganda. And on education, there is also a decrease of 0.4, and yet we still have to enhance higher education, because for the lower education we have at least made it. People reach to senior 6, but then they stop there. So we need to build more higher education and give more loans to students, as you have done in the past, but the number has decreased for those who go on loan scheme and government sponsorship. And on agriculture, I could like also to increase agriculture sector, because currently our currency is suffering from, is it inflation? And the dollar is overtaking us. So we need more products to export outside. So agriculture is the main point here to increase our export on the market. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, if you belong to the ruling party, you should be seen to be supporting the position of government and not to submit otherwise. Otherwise, you will defeat the debate. Yes. I think that is what is appropriate.
From the Green Party, representing people of Lubaga South constituency. I happen to be the Shadow Minister for Finance, and I've taken great concern to follow up since the reading of the previous budget. There are specific observations which I want to air to this August House today, which were made by the Minister of Finance that day. And I was very cautious to note that the growth in agricultural output declined at 1.3%. We need to note that there is too much that is changing in the nature of the droughts that we are experiencing due to the environment damage, which is the destruction of wetland and deforestation, which is happening amidst us. And this is undermining the food security. I want to stand here today and retaliate on issues of education in a similar way by saying that we have been studying about the so many education commissions that took place in the past, but our education system is going into decay as we are looking. Dear members that are here today to represent the people and the public, there is too much that we can say, but what I can present today is that we need a new education commission to present the reason as to why people are graduating in millions and nobody is getting work. We need to look into the matter that there are so many thousands and millions of students or pupils that join PLE or join primary, but just 6,000 are read. Members, we have to be cautious as people, as representatives of the public, to note that there is even a good category that we are not even talking, nobody is talking about these people. I mean, the youth with disability. Where are their primary schools? Where are their universities? What are the constraints in the budget? How can we look into these matters without giving recommendation that there is need to take serious accountability during admissions, and we follow up to see that at the end of the day, we have substantial figures that are related to what we are substituting. I rest my case.
Order.
batabani bange abazzukulu mwebale kunsanyukira neyanze nnyo ngenda okulaba mukulu ng'obudde bujja kuyita ng'ate bantunya abantu beerwaga baneesidde bakadde bannange ne bagamba nti baaseerwa nnyo emitwalo 2 tegigula mulebe gwa lumonde negigula n'ennyaanya sebo twagala mutwongereyo abakulu nsayibula nnyo omukulu oyo okugenda mukulu kadaaga yeyandiwulidde nti abakadde baatuwa esente ntono tezibwa tabuuni ate erinnya eyange namuli Francis Kawanga owa DP okufanga ndi mu DP era yenzese mu kamanga ngenda kufanga ndi mu DP era ndi kanga naye abakulu bantumye abeerubaga ngendo wange obudde buyita ojja gamba nti obudde buyisika kiteeke
We are very appreciative to the Honorable Member from Rubaga. If you are overjoyed, at least you stand. Please take your seats. Being that the language of command is English, and her submission has been taken on the record of the Hansard, which I'll accordingly order after here for a transcription so that the House can be able to understand what the Honorable Member has submitted. Honorable Segirija.
Koto West Constituency, Lwengo District, Government Chief Whip. On the motion presented to increase the funding, the budget funding on education and agricultural sector, yes, submissions have been made, right, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members, questioning the increase in the funding, but before that, they have to realize the impact of the first funding by the government. And then after, we present the issue that demands for the increase in the funding in both sectors. In education, where there is urgent need for increase in the funding from the figures given already laid on the table to 15% is that if we are to frame the budget at this time and look at where we can actually facilitate, the justification is from previous budgets, the government has already launched early childhood education or early childhood development and basic education, which has already been incorporated into our system. The National Curriculum Development Center, NCDC, has already reviewed the curriculum to integrate more ICT and some technical skills in the education sector. In addition to what has already been provided, previous years, we have already incorporated the seed secondary schools per sub-county in the country. Where they have not yet been realized, it means there was inadequate funding for such sub-county to start having the secondary seed school.
problem at the grassroots, we will not achieve more. For example, an extension agriculture officer is in my district at the sub-county level, and he is paid only 30,000. And I'm wondering how that person can take services really to the grassroots in all the parishes, in the 98 parishes I have in Ntungamo district. Secondly, the seeds. We have this program of Operation Wealth Creation. The seeds we are giving farmers, most of them are expired. Therefore, my point here is we need to solve that problem. If it means increasing enrollment of councillors, district councillors, to monitor government programs at the grassroots, let's do that. Otherwise, increasing money here at the center, it will not solve problems. I beg to submit, Honorable Speaker.
On this same issue, the motion that has been moved for increasing funding to the health, education, and agriculture sectors. My view in this motion is that they should be increased just because the reason as to why we are having a fallback in the education, agriculture, and health sectors is that you find that the people who have been employed within these sectors lack motivation. And when they lack that motivation, that is why you find that the pace at which service delivery is being given in those different sectors has also come down. For example, you find that for the schools that we had just 3 years back performing very well at national level, recently the Lord Mayor said that the KCCS schools, which are acting as UP schools during the days back, we used to have some of the best students appearing in newspapers or even going on media as a result of funding being increased by then. But now that some of the departments which are very crucial, their funding has been reduced, and funding has instead been given to things that are not very vital.
Kasaga George Abras, coming from Koto Midwest. I'm very glad to be the Honourable Member of Parliament without people's mandate. Right Honourable Speaker, all along I was being inclined for the information. Right Honourable Speaker and my colleagues, you find no medicine, but at the end of the year, we see it at the TVs and whatever, that medicine is banned. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
For this issue late in Parliament, I would like to say that this percentage of agriculture.
Honourable Member?
Yes.
Just a reminder, please, you mention your name, party, and constituency.
Thank you for that correction, but I had mentioned my names. But for those who are not attentive, I'm Nachdiwa Rehema from Lugazi Municipality, Farmers Party. Yes, for the point of the increase of this percentage of agriculture, I would like to say that agriculture should be given at least 20%. Reasons for the weather we are in, that we are having a lot of sunshine, whereby there is no rainfall. We need to increase this money at least to have irrigation schemes for watering our plants, because agriculture, in fact, is our backbone and is where we earn more for our living. And not allowed. And I would like, if this percentage is increased, it will be better for us and for the government to introduce for us backyard farming, whereby it does not need us to wait for seasons. We go on farming at whatever time we want.
There's a lady there in the corner.
Nianze nnyo Speaker. Amanya gange. Nakasi Amina Esther. Mva Mukono constituency. Okwawukana kakatine ku kye tubaddeko, nze nyimiridde wano ku lw'abakozi abakola mu companies, abavubuka, abawala, bamaama era abazadde, nga ngamba bo tetulina kye tuyinza kubateeseza makampuni gye bakola kubanga abamu babonaabona bakola nnyo ate nga bafuna ssente ntini oluusi balemererwa okuweerera abaana baabwe.
Honourable member, please resume your seat.
I am Wanjala Isaac, representing people of Busiro South. Is it in order for honourable member from Mukono not to pass by her translator? Thank you.
Representing the people of Kyadondo East constituency from Green Party, realizing that the government has failed to prioritize the healthy sector, education and agriculture, which sectors constitute the most vital components of development in all areas of our economy. Uganda is likely not to achieve the middle income status by 2020 as projected. The word budget in the health sector has remained the same. Doctors in public hospitals, nurses are striking. I'm urging the government to increase funding in these sectors.
Right Honourable Speaker, I'm by name Badale Muzamil, a Member of Parliament from Yumbe District. Right Honourable Speaker, in the interest of time, I would wish to inform this House that for the Right Honourable Speaker to wake up in the morning and forming his mind coming into this floor of House, it was only after realizing that he is healthy. All honourable members who are seated in this floor, they did the same. For a teacher and a pupil to realize that he could go to class and attend lectures or lessons, it should be after he or she has realized that he is healthy and has eaten or else is satisfied. Having said that, honourable members, all right, honourable Speaker, I'm arising this point from the importance that we derive from the health sector. Health sector, we should have discussed this matter of raising fund and increasing fund for these three departments yesterday, but not today. But because we have been reluctant and not presenting, actually giving consideration to these sectors, it has taken us up to this time. We have now good roads. When you get sick, they can rush you to hospital quickly, but getting attendance from the medical officer, it will take a lot of time. For that matter, Mr. Speaker, therefore, I urge this parliament, a second parliament of the People's Republic of Uganda, to at least support this motion to raise funds.
Honourable member, would you wish to be informed?
Yeah.
Right Honourable Speaker, let me inform the current Speaker or the Honourable Right Member of Parliament from Yumbe. The professional middle name of Uganda's economy is Professor Lack of Resources. You are not saying, let us increase this, let's increase this. You are not giving us the resource base. Where is that money going to come from when we are increasing? You are stretching the government of Uganda, which is ratifying PTs which are not functional. Even in this parliament, we are passing these things, they are not functional. You can't stretch from 3 to 10. It is dysfunctional. Let's not stretch the government of Uganda with these things because they are ratifying things which are not functional.
Honorable member, you made your point, you can make.
Farmers Party, representing Usongora North in Kasese district. I'm honored today that the increase of funding for agriculture and funding for the health sector and education is vital. On a number of issues, we have seen the funding that has been there, only that we need, when this funding is done, there need some corrections. The corrections that need to be done such that we benefit really if this funding is provided. One, the OWC officers in the army, they are recruited from defense to come into agriculture. And there is no act of parliament that has graced that. So therefore, their way of operation is logical. You cannot understand it because they are doing repetition work. Because already we have NADS, we already have MAIF and other organizations that are doing reporting on the same.
This history has kept on repeating itself, and we are not moving any further to middle income status. Therefore, there are better things that we can do to move our country to where we want it to be. Talk about the health sector. You cannot tell me that we are going to move as a perfect country to a middle status income state when we have improper health. That is very irrelevant and it's uncalled for. In our constitution, the 1995 constitution, we have a right to life, and it once again calls for to put people's health first. The government has over time not considered people's way of life and living. Therefore, I call the government to order and to put health as first in the movement of our country. Thank you very much.
Workers' Party, representing Chiguru South. My first point is with positive thinking. Ugandans, we have a problem of complaining. We complain when things are good, we complain when things are bad, we are always complaining. When we develop a positive attitude, whatever is put in place, you cannot improve. Let me give an example of health workers. You cannot work well when all the voices speaking around you are negative. We have to start by being positive, work on what we have, and try to improve what we have, and we must work as a team. Every time your boss is in place, you will not have a solution, you'll always keep moving up and down. Then second of it all is, if you look at the population of Uganda, we are increasing day and night. So if health is not really put into consideration, people are going to die day and night. People are going to die day and night. Schools, when Makerere University, when they go on strike, government is blamed. When Mulago Hospital has issues, government is blamed. When will you ever sit down and thank government for the little it has done before you complain? Thank you.
I stand here to talk about education. Why poor quality of education in this country? Why very high attrition rate? Why do we have 30 to 40% of the children in this country reaching P7, but they cannot read and write their mother tongue languages? Why do we have poor performance in subjects across the country, across the levels of education, and even the performance in education? We have not asked ourselves, why did the 1.1 million children registered in 2011 in P1, where did they go? Only 646,190 children who registered and sat. The reason is given were that there was a lot of dropout. Why dropout? And there was early marriages. Why early marriages? We need to go to the drawing board. What is the problem? The problem in this country, which we are inherited, we are taken for a right. We don't have the right curriculum. We do not have the indigenous curriculum for the languages in this country. We don't have it, such that the teachers are not there who can teach the local languages. The teachers cannot handle the mother tongue languages. And therefore, the problem starts from there. The poor quality of education starts from there. The statistics are there in your name everywhere on newspaper. So we need to go to the drawing board, Mr. Speaker. We need to go to the drawing board and get the curricula, indigenous curricula for each language.
Honorable Member, before you leave the floor, please could you remind us of your name, your party, the constituency you're representing? It has to go on the answer.
Okay. So I am called Atupu Juventine Patrick, a retired head teacher from primary, having taught for 40 years.
Amanya agange nze Salongo Waswa Kasozi, Kawempe Division. Mukole amateeka, bwe mutakole mateeka, gafuga gwanga, temulina kye mujja kukola. Kakati mulabye akantu katono nnyo mwenna mukubye enduulu, naye kyetaagisa mateeka. Kasita mwanaaba n'amateeka agafuga eggwanga, tujja kuba bulungi nnyo. Naye olabye kantu katono ffenna tubadde waggulu. Ebyo byonna bye mwogedde ku bintu by'ensimbi ebyokukuza eggwanga, naye amateeka ge gakola ensimbi ezo ze mwogedde. Omuntu okumuwa ssente n'agenda azikozesa ekyo kyennyini ekimugambiddwa ekisuddewo n'eggwanga. Muntu kumuwa ssente n'agenda akola ebibye n'adda mu Parliament n'agamba mu ssente tezaamala. Lwaki tezaamala? Ffenna tujja wano kuteesa, tuteeseza nsi yaffe, ate mwagala eggwanga lyammwe. Newe mutayagala eggwanga lyammwe, tuli mu bbanga. N'olwekyo kye mbasaba mwenna abakyala n'abaami, mukole okwagala eggwanga. Tubeere ku mateeka, omusajja azza omusango bamusibe, oba omukyala nange nze kennyini nga nzizizza omusango bansibe. Naye kakati mu Uganda temuli mateeka. Abantu batta bannaabwe, bakola buli kintu kyonna kye baagala, tebafiibwako. Nsigadde ndi Salongo Waswa, sinze nja kuteesa nzekka.
Stakeholders should strive to improve the Uganda healthcare system. Uganda with a GDP of $650 spends nearly $150 million to treat government officials abroad. So my question, is it in order to treat those government officials at the expense of taxpayers' money, yet for us, the ordinary people suffer poor health facilities?
My name is Dunya Sharon. I'm from Alepto district, and I'm from the Workers' Party. Thank you. I am here to justify the essence of why the government should actually increase the funding in the health sector, education sector, and agriculture sector. However, I would like to stress that the government should actually increase more funding on the education sector because, one, if we have more money of funding in the education sector, this funding will be extended to the rural areas, and we shall have people, young women, mothers, old people accessing the education at any time. The other reason why they should increase funding in the education sector is that we shall have reduced rates in mortality. There will be reduced early childbirth because we have realized that in the deepest of villages, young women and young adults are getting pregnant and because they can't access education. So if we extend this education by increasing funding to the rural areas, every girl child will access this education. I also want to add that education for all, that is the essence of us as a nation. We need to educate everyone, young and old. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Honourable members, as the motion was tabled here, there were amendments that were put in there by us, and we were urging government to respond to them. It's very important that we all know agriculture is the backbone of every society. So we urge government to look into that, make that increment so that our people out there can be able to survive, because they entirely depend on agriculture. And we therefore even resolve that education, the government should set up the education commissions to review the curriculum so that they enforce education for the disadvantaged and the ones who are disabled. On health, we urge the government to look into the resolutions that came out from the strikes of the health workers. It seems government is taking a deaf ear, but that is a very important area where we request government to really up the salaries of these health workers if we have got to have a healthy nation. On further to education, the girl child, those people who are dropping out of school, kindly, we request you to look into that area and increase this budget. Increase the budget to have these children remain in school. The problem we identified is because there is a lot of corruption in that area. When money is put there, the technocrats do not budget properly, or when they do, the money is misappropriated. And therefore I urge this government to take a serious look at those thieves of our money. I'm going to end by request by asking the leader of government business to table to us the work plan that the government has on enhancing the budget for education, the budget for agriculture and health. We want a comprehensive report. It is either going to be now, or maybe it is going to be forever, I don't know. But this parliament requires you to table to us the plan that you have when it comes to these three areas that are very key to the development of our country. I thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
I am Elizabeth Wanjala, representing Kamuli Municipality. I'm with the Workers' Party. I'm the leader of government business of the public parliament today. As you heard the motion, I'm here to defend the government over what we have so far done on budget allocation to the health sector, education sector, and agriculture. There is prioritizing. We need to prioritize. It's the reason why we have the National Development Plan. It's the reason why we have the National Action Plan. It is the reason why we have a strategic plan to guide us as government in order to bring services to our people. Now, when we speak about these sectors, we have done our best as government to extend funding to health, to education, to agriculture. However, as people, Ugandans, we have failed to accept what the government has so far done. We have failed to change our mindset. Point of information, rejected. Remember, as government, we even have a fully fledged research department that goes down to the grassroots and brings us feedback on what is on ground, monitoring our programs on ground, and therefore we internalize, we analyze, and then make decisions on what should be prioritized. And it is the reason why the health sector is going to be in the other budgets, but not now, because we have facilitated those sectors in the previous budgets, but so far the funds have been misused. So we have to reallocate funds to other sectors. Infrastructure is very important. You are thinking of agriculture. How will you transfer your goods, transport them from Katakwi to Nairobi, from Arua to Kasese? We need to improve our infrastructure. So if we see our agriculture is not being improved by our people on the grassroots, then we would rather put infrastructure like roads in place. Take an example of the roads. Every day in Kampala, complaining of how roads are not in good condition. They are complaining of potholes. They are complaining of the traffic jam. We need to improve such in order for us to also work on the grassroots at some of these sectors. So please, as Ugandans, I urge you to accept government, to move step by step. You cannot start by crawling and then you all of a sudden jump. You have to crawl, to stand, then you start taking a step by step. Government has tried to ask for funds internally and externally. So please, we shall continue to utilize these funds that we have sourced from external donors and internally from our revenue to facilitate what is wanting. And for example, the hospitals, the other day, the Uganda Investment Authority had a discussion with the Egyptian group, and they are planning to build a medical facility which shall have a pharmacy, which shall have a training center. But what we Ugandans want to do, when government puts in funds, after as visitors, and we cross and start working outside. Even when government has facilitated you to get this training in most of these government hospitals or even in the government schools, please love your country. And when I come to education still, the schools are being built. We have created seed schools. We even went ahead to put in funds in these schools. We buy scholastic materials. We have trained teachers on ground. However, you on the grassroots, you are corrupt. And then you start bringing corruption to the government. When we come down, you don't give us information about the corrupt people. You are the people hiding the corrupt LCs, hiding the corrupt parents. So because of that, the funds are being misused by...
I beg you, stick on your intentions as the policy that you are intending to push forward in order to cure the predicament that we are faced with. You've already had all the submissions and closing of the resolutions. Then we should avoid attacks. Doesn't help the moment.
Most obliged, Honorable Speaker.
I'll read the resolution to you, the suggested resolutions, and those in favor will say aye, and those who are not in favor will say nay. It shall be by voice voting. So if you want to take the lead, you know what to do. By this Parliament, that government increases funding to the health and education sector from 8.3% and 11.0% respectively to at least 15% each of the national budget as agreed by the African leaders at the Abuja African Union Summit and the Addis Ababa Action Agenda. I believe you have the other paper and item 2 on the resolution would be government increases funding to the agricultural sector from 3.8% to at least 10% of the national budget as endorsed by all African Union heads of state at the Second Ordinary Assembly of the African Union in July 2003 in Maputo under the African Union Maputo Declaration on Agriculture and Food Security in Africa 2003. Those in favor say aye, and those who are not in favor, nay.
Aye.
Those who are not in okay, the ayes have the lead. Seems there's no nay. The House is adjourned. Seeing there, honorable members, you can go and traverse your constituencies. We shall very soon resume if you successfully make it. Okay, House adjourned.